Well, a very good evening to you, race fans. Welcome back once again to Simple Racing Broadcast, bringing you all of the action of the Alliance Sim Racing V8 Supercars series. This is Season 5, and we are now at the penultimate round of this season. Round 9 brings us to none other than Misano World Circuit, Marco Simoncelli, on the gorgeous Italian coastline. It's a MotoGP course by nature, by its heritage, but in the V8s, this just over 4 kilometre circuit is going to offer one hell of a test for the drivers tonight. There are tight hairpins, there are sweeping corners, and only some very short straights to take advantage of, so overtaking will be at an absolute premium tonight. Misano, of course, renamed in 2012 in honour of the Italian MotoGP star Marco Simoncelli, who lost his life at Sepang in 2011. He grew up just a few kilometres from this track, which makes it a pretty fitting tribute to his legacy. It's lovely to have you along with us this evening. My name is Jared Cole, and joining me in the booth tonight is none other than Ryan DJ Palmer. Ryan, mate, welcome back. It's been a hot minute since we've had you along, but what a track for us to be working together once again.
Yeah, it's been a while. Last time we were out, we were watching Supercars do wheelies at the fantastic Virginia International Raceway over in America. But good to be back. Obviously, I'm tag teaming out with my good old buddy Josh Harris. Unfortunately, he's away for work, so figured might as well just come along again, because it's always good fun to commentate alongside yourself, because you do a great job. But it's going to be interesting, I think, especially with this format.
Absolutely, and it's going to be a very, very good night of racing, I'm sure. The weather absolutely beautiful here at Misano this evening for us. 20 degrees, basically air temp. It's kind of been hovering around 18 over the last little while. 33-degree track temperature is near perfect for the Gen 3 Supercars, and they're going to need all of that tonight. Misano is not a track that you want to be coming into with anything other than perfect conditions if you want to have a quick race. Tonight we've got two of them lined up for you. 24 laps, so half the points in each race tonight, which is a little bit different to the usual format. Drivers undergoing open qualifying at the moment, 20 minutes of that. We're going to jump in and check out some of the action in just a moment. But race 2 brings a reverse top 10 grid. There is a 50% fuel capacity limit across both races tonight, but a little unusually for the last couple of rounds, by comparison at least, no compulsory pit stops. So it'll be interesting to see how that plays out. I don't know, I haven't done the numbers here, Ryan, but 24 laps, I feel like 50% fuel is probably going to be about enough. We'll see how it plays out, I guess.
Well, obviously, my experience racing in some other leagues, the supercar uses anywhere between 3 and 5 litres a lap, so we may see some some early pit stops. I did have a look. It's actually 20-degree track temp, so possibly the best you could have a supercar in, not probably that high deg, but yeah, we may see a pit stop in here, hence the potential no compulsory, because they're basically kind of compulsorized it with a 50% fuel cap. But it'll be interesting to see if we have guys fuel saving and stuff like that, to see if they can make the end. It's potential, lift and coast, clutch in, stuff like that. So potential. Will the fast guys just blitz the field, do a late pit stop, early pit stop, or will some of the slower guys come through at the end when they try and do a no stop? But yeah, it's going to be interesting.
And we've certainly got some fuel-saving masters in the field this evening. Speaking of the fast drivers, though, let's take a look at the championship as it stands on the way into these final 2 rounds. And Wayne Walker looking very, very comfortable atop the leaderboard. 1,738 points to Scott Gamble's 1,668. Jamie Dyke probably looking a little less comfortable at 1,560 points in third place, with Ken Latta not too far behind at all. And then a fairly small gap back to both Mark Poynton and Matt Vanderkraan. The field from there does start to spread out a little bit, but there's plenty of close battles left for these final 2 races of the season. Most notably in that top 10, Stephen Varga and Michael Stewart, only 4 points separating them at the moment, and certainly a lot of drivers fairly close down through that top 20 as well. So still plenty left to play for in these last couple of rounds of Season 5. We'll go down to the track and start to take a bit of a look at how qualifying is going as the drivers reach pretty well the halfway point of qualifying action. So we'll jump on down, see if we can pick up on a bit of a lap around Misano, shall we?
Yeah, why not? It seems like it's a pretty good day out here at Misano, but funnily, interesting enough, after seeing those standings, I can't see a Jamie Dyke anywhere, so unfortunately, unless he jumps in, he won't be scoring any points. But speaking of Jamie Dyke, we do have his teammate in Michael Whiting in another beautifully presented fishy car here, sitting 8th at the moment with a 39 flat. 1.2 seconds off Scott Campbell, mate. That, from what I've seen, Scott and Wayne are pretty rapid. So,
It's a reasonably well spread field actually, and look, to be fair, we're only halfway into the qualifying session, so these guys really just starting to lay some rubber down on the track. But as we know with the Gen 3 Supercars, you'll get your best lap out of that first kind of 1 or 2 laps on the tyres before they start to lose time. So probably not going to see too many hot laps in succession before the guys come back in to change tyre sets. Scott Gamble right now actually running a purple sector. We might just jump up front and see how he's going. He's been so quick all season, but Wayne Walker also only just over a 10th behind in qualifying at the moment. And then the field really does start to spread out. Misano is a tricky circuit. Just doing a bit of a virtual track walk earlier today because it's not a circuit that I'm familiar with. But having a look at it, the way that it's set up, beautiful track for motorbikes, going to be a very challenging one for Gen 3 Supercars, I think.
Yeah, I think we all know now the supercar really doesn't like to be doing the whole switchback on itself. It likes those long flowing corners. Coming from a driver's perspective, they're very they're pretty stiff, and if you set them up wrong, they can go all out of whack. But yeah, Scott Gamble put in a pretty quick lap there with 37.7. But yeah, hopefully these guys can get these laps out. But with this cool track temp, we'll be seeing probably their fastest lap for Corley coming in on their second one. So hot track temps, you'll aim for your first. Low track temps, you'll aim for your second. So we'll just wait and see here. A couple of guys on some PBs. We've got Alistair Bales, Simon Farrington on PBs. So it'll be good to see on where these cars end up. They're really tight from 11th down to 19th, so it could be anyone's game there. Even Wayne Walker really close to Scott, and then obviously Michael in third, Vanderkreen in fourth, all the way down to Stewart in ninth. So you've got two little kind of gaps that can be really anyone's game there. But yourself, you make one little tiny mistake and you're gonna kiss your whatever position you're in goodbye.
Absolutely, and a shout out for the man on screen right now, Mick Clifton, Rebecca Clifton, checking into the chat. Good to have you with us, Rebecca. Bit of love and support for Team Accelerate, who have certainly been in the mix, and Wayne up front is doing everything he can to maximise his chances of really closing this season out tonight, if possible. Mick Clifton, though, just about to head out on a hot lap by the look of things. So what we might do is, why not, while we're here, we'll jump on board with Mick and get a good view of what it's like to go around Misano, because it is a tough track. It really is, and you can see the opening corner straight out of that small start-finish straight, hard right, straight back to the hard left. Tyres are not going to love that by about lap 4. I reckon we'll start to see a bit of a wiggle on through there. And you can see the oversteer correction as Mick gets out over that ripple strip. Hard turn in to this double apex right-hander. It's really 2 turns to be fair, but you've got to treat it as a single corner. And then a big moment there as Mick tries to get the power down. Long, weeping left-hander. This is one of the few parts of this track where you actually get a moment to breathe. It's not a very long lap. You're talking in the minute 30s. And you don't get much of a straight anywhere around Misano, and you see immediately Mick not even getting to 200k an hour there before he has to get back on the brakes. This long hairpin. It's I don't know if it's even tight enough that I'm going to call it a hairpin tonight, but we'll see how that goes. And then down the back straight again, another breather, long sweeping right-hander ahead of us, and then just a little more straight as he set up for the last dash into these the last few corners here, which again really test your brakes out. This will be one of the key overtaking opportunities, I think, into these tight corners. You're going to see plenty of people sending it up the inside there tonight, I'm sure. And then we start to go back the other way a little bit. A lot of right-handers to open up, a few lefts as you get into the end of the course and back to the start-finish straight we are. Mick Clifton taking us around Misano, which is a nice little introduction for me because I've not had the opportunity to really check it out before.
Yeah, I haven't either, but just from that, he locked the rear into turn 1 and sent the rear into a bit of a spin, and then that little bit of a moment there, but those little tiny kinks before the big corner really is not something that the supercar likes. So yeah, also Mick unfortunately forfeiting that lap. Jumping on board here with Dean Logsdale. Oh, he's off, not on a hot lap. Looks like he's on an out lap too. So only half a second off Scott up there on pole position at the moment with a 37.7. Just under, what do we got? Just under 4.5 minutes to go. So yeah, it's going to be an interesting end here. We'll see the guys coming into the pits and whipping on some fresh green tyres and giving it, one more run, as you can see out there from the timing tower with all the outlaps. So, timing themselves properly to get their outlap done, get their warm-up tyres brought into the window, and then full send for the last lap and hope to God that it sticks. As you jump on board here with Peter Sattler with a last lap there, looks like he did a PB of a 39.3, so not too bad there, still jumped up a couple of positions. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see how this runs with, obviously, yourself, Jared. The supercars can kind of run side by side, but once you get to a certain extent, they just kind of like, get away from me and let me just follow you. But then you got to do with the dirty air.
Yeah, it's open qualifying is a bit of an anomaly for this season. There haven't been a lot of opportunities for these guys to actually quali alongside each other, so it's always a bit of a challenge for them to adapt to that rather than the solid qualifying. We'll keep an eye on Peter Sattler as he makes his way around. Wanted to take the opportunity as we get towards the end of qualifying here just to shout out for everybody at home a couple of upcoming little notifications for you. First of all, with round 10 just around the corner, this season's almost at an end. But between now and the start of Season 6, we do, of course, have the third of the Enduro events for this year, and it is none other than the Bathurst 1000. It's going to be an absolute cracker. We've got probably about 6 hours of racing happening on Sunday, the 21st of September. Registration is open now, so if you'd like to get involved and you're not already in the Alliance Sim Racing Discord, then just below in the YouTube description you'll see there's an email address to get in touch with the guys, and they will absolutely get you in with that. 2 driver teams are required though, so you can't run it solo. Well, I don't know who on earth would want to try and do a Bathurst 1000 solo. You might, DJ. That might be something you'd give a crack.
Look, I know I hate myself sometimes, but I probably don't hate myself that much.
Yeah, it's a long drive.
It is, obviously, we've just come out of Bathurst in these things, and trying to set the cars up for them, it was not fun. Probably took us, 4 or 5 days to set the car up, and then, one big mistake up the top, and no fast repairs, and you're out for the race. So, but I was actually keen on doing it this year, but unfortunately, I believe I'm in the Gold Coast for the actual supercars. So. Yeah,
I don't know. Sounds like excuses to me, but we'll let you get away with it this time. Yeah. The other thing to note, Season 6, of course, kicks off on the 30th of September, so just a week and a half afterwards. And here's the calendar. This lineup of tracks is looking so good that I hear rumours of a certain co-commentator of mine ditching me to actually sign up for this season. So I don't know how that's going to look. Come the 30th of September, whether Josh Harris will be in the booth with me or whether he'll be trying to commentate from on track. I'm going to have a chat to him about that one because he's pretty tempted by this. The lineup is amazing for these 10 rounds. Phillip Island, Watkins Glen, Algarve, Belle Isle, Sandown, Thruxton, Le Mans, Red Bull Ring, Sasha Ring and Bathurst. It's going to be a really, really fun season for these drivers. So if you do want to get involved, Season 6 entries I believe will be opening very, very soon, if not already, for registration for anyone who's not been involved in Season 5. So again, if you want to get involved, you know what to do. Jump into the emails down below and get yourself registered. So open to Season 5 drivers at the moment. After next week, so it's round 10 next Tuesday, the Season 6 regos will open up to newcomers. So if you want to be involved, you need to get in pretty quickly because that season will fill up very, very fast. Josh Harris will probably end up taking one of those spots, I reckon.
Rubs hands together.
Right.
You never know, you might see some ADH boys over here, so we'll wait and see how that happens. But you might have to put a bit of feelers out there and get someone else in for you because, you might see both of us on track there. But end of qualifying. That was a very quick very quick qualifying session there as we roll into the results that Jared has up here for qualifying. So yeah, very
Let's
close.
go through the grid for race number 1. 24 laps lie ahead of us. Scott Campbell and Wayne Walker line up on the front row, less than half a tenth separating them this evening. Matt Vanderkrant and Ken Latta right on row number 2. Then Scott Mackay and Dean Logsdale behind them. Michael Stewart and Mark Poynton on row 4. John Latham and Lorne McKee round out your top 10 for the start of race 1 this evening. Further back through the field, we have Stephen Varga and Andrew Rushworth ahead of Michael Whiting and Luke Allman. Then Damon Fisher and Dan Hall on row number 8. James Hardy and Peter Sattler, 17th and 18th respectively. Then Phil Manuel and Alistair Bales round out your top 20. Behind them, Troy Sipple and Mick Clifton line up ahead of Dave Galley and Simon Farrington. Rick Vigar returns tonight, although from what I hear, he's had a pretty busy week, so not many practice laps. I promise Rick will take it easy on you this evening. Ashley Hall in 26th ahead of Andrew Johnston in 27th and Craig Rose 28th. Jamie McKnight, we haven't seen actually set a lap time there. Todd Martin likewise. Now, those guys, I don't know about Jamie, but Todd, I don't believe is in the safety car tonight, so we'll have to check in on that. And then, of course, we've got Tim Nicol and Tim Lawson ready to go in the safety car for this evening. So they are sitting in the race control seats tonight. And hopefully, not going to need to call on them anytime soon. We'll go down to the grid in just a moment as the drivers get set for race number 1. I know you've not probably kept a too close an eye on this, DJ, across the course of the season, but Wayne Walker on the front row, when you look at the dominant season that he's had, it's going to be hard to imagine that with a Gamble Walker front row, anyone's going to get a bit of a look at any time after probably turn 2 at either of those guys, I reckon.
Yeah, well, from VIR, Wayne Walker, I think he got involved in an incident, if I remember correctly, and he ended up driving, back up through the field. So, number 1 on his car as well, so depends and see there. Staggered grid, which is also interesting. So Wayne's really going to have to get a good start off that inside run up into turn 1 as we are about to go green here. So this should be very exciting.
Absolutely. We've got just a couple of drivers left to jump on the grid. Vanderkrant joins. We're waiting on Ken Latta from Fishy Motorsports in P4. Stephen Varga back in 11th. Will be jumping in shortly as well, I'm sure. Simon Farrington, not quite on the grid yet. Todd Martin has joined the grid, so he is all the way back there. It's a fairly short straight in the scheme of things, but I'll tell you what, this field, a solid, what have we got, 30 drivers out there tonight, so it'll be a lot of drivers out on this track. I do just want to point out that we've seen Mitch Curry chip into the ASR chat. Apparently I'm scraping the bottom of the barrel tonight for co-commentators. That's a bit rough from someone who bailed on the V8 season 3 races in, isn't it?
He can't hack it that he doesn't know how to drive a supercar properly, and I'm just better than him. So,
you know what? We'll roll with that. I think that's a fair statement. We've got the green flag at the back of the field. We're ready to go racing. Hope you're ready at home. Here we go, folks. Round 9 at Misano is underway. Scott Gamble and Wayne Walker get us off the line. Gamble gets a fantastic launch. Not quite so much further back in the field as we see the cars starting to bunch up already as we make our way down to turn 1 for the first time. And the field starting to spread out. We've got a big lock of brakes. Thankfully, no contact just yet. Gamble and Wayne Walker out in front will be enjoying the clean air as the rest of the field tries to make their way through. Now, Wayne Walker appears to have a slowdown, and this is something that has been highlighted about Misano. There's a lot of places, as Scott Mackay's gone around. We haven't quite caught it on that view, but he is facing the wrong way at the moment, so he's going to have to get rolling. Doesn't look like too much damage. Keep your eye. This is a new addition to the timing tower. So our wonderful broadcast software providers, SDK Gaming, have added in a couple of new flags for us. You will, of course, see the black flags for any drive-through penalties or stop and holds that are issued. But there are also yellow flags to indicate slowdowns being applied by iRacing. And from what I understand, Misano is one of those places where slowdowns are a pretty big part of it. It's the sort of track where you think you're actually within track bounds, but it's very, very easy to actually cut inside and cop a slowdown penalty here.
Yeah, so just from watching practice, you can see there Scott Gamble really using that that AstroTurf, but it looks like that's where the racing line is. But you don't want to push that too far, because if you do, you'll be getting that slowdown. And as you can see, Wayne Walker did have one to begin with. He looks like he got it through that turn 1-2 section, and he's dropped over a second off Scott, so he's not going to have that slipstream. Scott puts in a very quick lap there with 45.3, so they're all kind of mellowed out now. But yeah, that's probably not where you want Scott to have that much breathing room. So question is, will Wayne come back with 23 laps to go here in race 1? So as you did say previously, reverse top 10. So question is, come the end of lap 24, who will be starting on pole and who will be starting in 10th? And that'll be very interesting to keep an eye on.
Yeah, it always is, and we'll see how this goes. Now, the field already starting to spread out quite a bit. We've got this front group we're watching for the moment, sort of tucked in behind Matt Vanderkraan in 3rd place. You've got Logsdale Stewart and Mark Poynton with him. But the rest of the field already starting to see a bit of a gap open up as the drivers just try to come to grips with Misano in a Gen 3 supercar. I know they will put in plenty of practice laps, but this is a tough track. As we see Ashley Hall just tucking in behind Damon Fisher, Rick Vigard back here. We won't spend too long looking at you, Rick. I promise we'll be gentle tonight, mate. A little further up, Mick Whiting is just ahead of Peter Sattler, but I mean, we say just ahead. It's out to 2 seconds already as we get into lap 2. It does make me wonder just how much we're going to see the gaps open up here tonight, because there's a couple of very distinct battle packs already. You've got that group from 3rd to 7th, as I was saying earlier. You've got this one from 11th back to about 17th or so. But out in front, Scott Gamble, Wayne Walker, starting to really open it up as we come down the home straight once again. Josh Harris checks on into the chat as well. G'day, mate. Hope you enjoyed the watch. I know you're always disappointed to miss out on this stuff. James Hardy looking up the inside of Mick Clifton. We've got this reversal, though. He's going to have to do something special here to hold on to the place. Still on the inside, though, for the next turn. This is one of those tracks where you really do need to hold it through a few turns to make that passing move stick. And Hardy's got it in the end. Clifton runs a little wider, looking for an opportunity to regather. Can't quite get there. It's it's a really, really tricky one to get those passes set up. But Hardy has done it very, very nicely. We'll jump forward just a little because Alistair Bales looks to be just moving up a little, though he's just jumped past Luke Allman. So whether he can reel in Troy Sipple here for P12 is the question.
Yeah, that'll be interesting. As you can see there, Lorne McKee's got a black flag, so whether or not that's from incident points or he's come together with someone. But yeah, this track really, just from kind of watching it, would open up a lot of opportunity for some over and unders and stuff like that, as long as you get your track limits done right. So nice little battle pack here for 14th through to 17th, really close between Ormond, Hardy, Clifton and Farrington. So keep an eye on this here. Could be really anyone's game. One little tap will set the car off, but yeah, the left rights in the supercars, as I said earlier, we all know that probably not really the fashion of the supercar because it loves burning rears.
Yeah, it's not great. I've just been watching on that note, Tim Lawson jumped into the safety car on lap 1 just as we saw that first incident kick off, and I was a little worried we were actually going to end up with a safety car there. It hasn't happened, so it looks as though he's just wanting to be ready in case at the moment. But yeah, Josh Harris just chipping in as well. It did look like a yellow flag, which on our timing tower indicates the slowdown, and if you don't clear it in time, that will result in a stop and hold. So we'll know in just a moment, because Lorne is into the pits, and I reckon he'll be serving potentially a 40 or 50 second stop and hold. Tends to be what you get given if you don't clear that slowdown. It's nasty, isn't it?
Yeah, it definitely is. And just hearing over the race control channel, Ladder got a drive-through penalty for lap 1 going into turn 3. So had a bit of a lock-up and yeah, caused that whole massive cluster of cars going everywhere and stuff. So a bit unfortunate. Started really well up in 4th and just dropped all the way down. So just here, locks a brake and unfortunately takes out the car in front, and it all went downhill very fast.
Yeah, you can see like just pulling up on the SRS. Oh, that's not intentional from Ladder. That's just really unlucky to start moving forward as one of the Accelerate sim racing cars that just comes around the outside. Did a great job of avoiding everything, and then unfortunately gets collected as Ladder just starts to roll forward, and then one of the Team AJR cars shortly after. It looks like Damon Fisher just getting it all sorts of wrong through the next turn. Cold tyres, you know, everyone's starting to get a little bit excited about getting out on the racetrack, and yeah, that is the result, unfortunately.
Yep, that's racing in a supercar, I guess, but you know, here we are. So
what do you do, right? It's such a hard thing to control for a lot of these drivers. Oh, Ashley Hall, a very, very awkward line there as he tries to take Rick Vigar. Vigar just controlling that space fairly well at the moment. You can see a decent gap back here to these guys for 19th, 20th and 21st, with Dan Hall starting to try and recover some positions, and there's the confirmation there. Drive-through penalty for car number 269, Ken Ladder, for that contact with number 72, Scott Mackay. So no great surprises, really. Mick Whiting now is just doing his best to hold off. Here comes Luke Ormond. He's taking a big look up the inside, fills the mirror, has a think about it. It's not the right corner to try it on, but he's just making sure that the Whiting knows he's there and is thinking about a move.
Yeah, you don't want to be making any moves through these kinks, because if you do, you'll just compromise your run into the next corner, potentially get past there. But yeah, as you probably know yourself, show your mirrors, make your car look big, and hope for the best that the car in front makes a bit of a mistake, so you can sneak up the inside and take the move. But there's some cars looking a bit worse for wear out there. As you jump on board here with Luke Ullman, got that camera on there, very nice, mate. Good to see. Ooh, triple screens, one up top. Yeah, that's very nice work there. But yeah, it's right in the back here of Whiting, and you know, I'm not too sure how the Dirty Air is kind of roughly handling with these cars at this track, but yeah, once you get one of those brake locks, it's really hard to get it unlocked
and still make the corner.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's especially when you have a rear. Once you have a rear locked, it's literally, you know, try and clear the brake and hope for the best and hope you don't take the car out in front. And you know, we saw that lap 1 and unfortunately got a penalty, but yeah, no, really good battle pack here in the middle here for 12th. So cars really close. One of them makes a mistake and they all go sailing down the order.
Yeah, and that's always the challenge, right? I think everyone's just starting to settle into this rhythm and just test the track out a little bit. It's not delivering perhaps some of the braking opportunities that they were probably hoping for. You see Whiting just moving inside to defend a little there on Allman. If we jump back up towards the front and check out this battle, Dean Logsdale and Mark Poynton now into it for 5th. Poynton is up a couple of spots from the start. And yeah, he's looking for a way past Logsdale. But ordinarily, what we expect to see in the Gen 3 supercars, you need these sort of opportunities, these heavy braking zones at the end of a straight. That's where you really get the opportunity to send these cars. And Misano is a really tough track for that. The straights are not particularly long, and so you really do need to nail the combination of corners coming up to the short straights to get the best run you can that gives you any shot at all of being in position to try and make a move under brakes, because most of these turns, they're not going to be the sort of corners that you can get a pass done around a lot of these sweepers, really, is it right?
Yeah, those heavy braking zones, as we see here, makes the move up the inside, gets that pulled up there.
Gets up the inside of Vanderkraan. They're going to go right out to the edge of the track now, though. Vanderkraan's still on the inside. He hasn't lost that overlap.
Oh, that's really nice racing there. We love doors out racing, you know, doesn't have it any incidents there. But Stewart really close to hitting the back of Vanderkraan through that section. But no, really nice racing here. But yeah, as you said, the car's kind of a little bit sketchy. We've seen previously the side draft kind of sucks the cars together, so you don't want to be doing that too well. Vanderkraan looks like he's got a bit of a slowdown, or runs off track. Where's he? He's just dropped down the order. Vanderkraan, where's he?
Vanderkraan's gone off
really
track back there.
He's gone off track. Yeah, he's bringing all those marbles on.
Slowdown, isn't it? Not quite what you'd ordinarily want to do. I'm not quite sure how on earth that's happened. He's let's have another look at this. Picks up the slowdown there, and you can see how easy it is to do. He's just trying to cut as much as he can off the track. All sorts of wrong with the brakes, just to completely misjudge the corner, perhaps. And yeah, that was all it took to have him off into the kitty litter as he drags a lot of it back on track. Yeah, which you don't want in this new iRacing physics update. As soon as you come through a corner and there's a whole lot of kitty litter, the car just decides to not turn. It just, runs over it like ice. So yeah, it's probably not what you want. But Vanderkraan loses that third place there, drops all the way down to 6 with a 2.3 second gap in front, and he's on under attack from Latham too. So, which he's got, looks like the move's done. So yeah, Latham had a fantastic run out of that previous corner, and you can see that's the move that Latham needed there. Really shifted to the outside of that turn, cut off the opportunity for Vanderkraan to get the overlap. But he's left it wide open here. Vanderkraan puts a nose back up the inside. They'll be side by side again. Who gets the better drive out of the corner? It looks like it might be Latham, but Vanderkraan will be on the inside for this one again. Lots of space being given. No one wants to come together there. Latham runs very, very wide. I don't know if you've noticed at home, folks, but a huge number of those yellow flags have been popping up on our timing tower throughout this race so far. The number of slowdowns being handed out here is, look, they're not particularly long slowdowns because they're clearing them fairly easily, but the sheer volume of them is pretty impressive, and it's actually a nice little stat to be able to see now.
Yeah, that is a very interesting stat. As we all know, that slowdowns are particularly hard to clear in some cases. So looks good to see, but looking around through the field, it looks like Lawns actually thought, I'll just park it up. So, but
Dan Hall's just been given the meatball. Let's have a look at what's happened here. The off track has resulted. Oh, he's blowing the motor on the downshift. There you go. We've seen that time and time again. And Josh Harris, you are not alone, my friend. We've seen that so often in these series.
Race control coming over. I did hear a safety car, so we'll wait and see on when they get scrambled, as it's starting to leave the pits now. So this will be interesting for Scott and guys up the front. Do you pit? Do you take some fresh tyres? Do you keep track position as we see some guys jumping into the pits? So yeah, this will be interesting.
You'd have to think that they'll take the opportunity. We've already seen some pit stops starting to happen. This will actually be phenomenal timing for the likes of Mick Whiting. Has just come out from the pits, so he went in pretty well just as that incident was happening, with just as Dan Hall was popping the motor there, and of course everyone else starting to flow in here. Gamble and Walker into the pits, and I expect we'll see pretty well the rest of the field. Stuart Logsdale in, Mark Poynton in, John Latham will follow. Here they all come. They're just going to flow into the pits here. This is back with Peter Sattler and Troy Sipple in 10th and 11th, and I expect we'll see much the same here. Sure enough, everyone coming into the pits. So what will be interesting to see, Alistair Bales is the first car on track that has completed a pit stop at the moment. So let's wait and see just how far up the order he perhaps jumps here. Is this just a case of great timing? Scott Gamble is on the way out, as is Wayne Walker. So we're starting to see the front end of this pack exiting the pits now as Bales starts to come around. I do see, though, a black flag there for Latham. I wonder if that's a pit speed infringement that he's picked up, perhaps on the entry.
Yeah, I will keep an eye on that and see what's happened here. But
you have to think he's been given a stop and hold based on how long he's in the pit bay there. He's up to 40-something seconds at the moment. That's really unfortunate. Bales has not gained perhaps as many positions as he'd hoped, but this is a really, really long pit exit. We've got a bunch of drivers who are just exiting, and Bales is going to get all the way up to 11th if he gets moved. Then, of course, there's that sweeper that puts him straight back down again. So, there's going to be close to contact. That's Mick Whiting and Mick Clifton coming together. Clifton comes out of the pits, contact with Whiting. That was, you could see that coming a mile away from our perspective, but I don't know if Whiting actually realised that Clifton was coming out alongside.
Yeah, no, that's very interesting. That's a really weird one there. Oh, yeah, okay. It's yeah, that's.
Back and having a look, you can see Whiting just gets on it out of the right hander and slides it out, gets on the brakes, but not enough. Just that bit of contact, and sends Clifton off the track and into the kitty litter. Yeah, I will leave that one in the hands of race control to figure out.
Glad I'm not in race control tonight, because there's been a couple of incidents there, but yeah, that was a really interesting pit exit happening there. But as you said, it's like he's seen him at the last minute. Just jumping on board on that replay there, you've seen him kind of dart a little bit further to the right, hit the brakes, and he thought, oh god, I'm going to hit him, and yeah, he did, unfortunately. So yeah, that'll come probably with a harsh penalty, so we'll wait and see if that one comes through.
Contact under safety car, as Mr. Harris points out in the chat. That has got to be one of the bigger penalties that you're likely to see, I'm sure. The 24/7 Sim Services safety car out on track right now, the Mustang GT3 taking them around the field. We'll see how long we've got under safety car in just a moment, I'm sure. And I'll get you to just keep an ear out for that if you could, DJ. I do want to go back and just have a quick look at the onboard there for Mick Whiting, because I do wonder whether he can even see Clifton on the way out. Let's go back and take a look at it from on board. You can see there's very limited visibility of that exit. Starts to turn, he's already looking ahead, and then all of a sudden there's the car next to him.
Yeah, well,
like
okay.
You've got to be aware of it for sure, but
there's relatives there. Yeah,
it's a really tough exit.
Yeah, he should have known that he was there, or should have got given a heads up. But yeah, that's unfortunate. Looks like, yeah, sincerely a mistake on his behalf, and yeah, there's going to be a harsh penalty coming with that one, as Josh has pointed out. With yeah, any contact under safety car, big no. So yeah, it's going to be interesting, this restart. You know, it's brought Wayne back to Scott. He did start to catch him a little bit, got underneath a second, but you know, couldn't get close enough. So we'll wait and see what happened. Yeah, so it's going to be an interesting one. And going back on that pit lane stop and hold, yes, it was for entering the pits. He came in at about 85 kilometers an hour. So yeah, probably that's a bit of a no-no as well. No,
not going to be happy with that. The race steward. So that will explain the stop and hold there for Mr. Latham. And that's unfortunately dropped him all the way back to 22nd, but he's out on track. No such luck for Dan Hall, who is still waiting on the tow, and I'm hoping he's still got a fast repair up his sleeve. But I do wonder if perhaps that he's already used that on the damage from that burst incident. I'm not sure if he actually got caught up, and I'm just going to have a look back quickly through my my list here. I think he might have. So if we go back to the lap 1 incident. This is Dan Hall. We'll see if we can get a bit of a view and see if he has picked up much damage here.
He probably would have used it just here.
Yeah. That's and then, gets a nice knock in the back from Team AJR. Not intentionally, of course. But
there you go, safety car in this lap, ladies and gents. So that's the call.
There's the wave around for I think that would have been Andrew Johnston, I suspect. So safety car coming in this lap. Scott Gamble will have control of the race shortly. That probably means that Dan Hall's race is basically over. The engine swap, as Johnston picks up a slowdown on his release lap. Not surprising. Honestly, the number of slowdowns here at Misano is insane. I don't know if it usually happens this often. We just haven't seen it prior to this update to our software, but if this is happening at every track, then that's news to me. It certainly wasn't looking this way in last night's broadcast. So, yeah, it's a Misano special, I reckon. Got Gamble now holding control of the field. The longer drive back to the start line from here. Question will be, just when does Gamble make the jump?
Safety car's just pulled in the pit, so all up to him now, and depends how close can Wayne stick to him when he does go. So we'll just wait and see here as he's approaching the final corner, and he's gone before it, so he's gone pretty early, and it's really clogged up the back there. That's really close to having another incident, so that was very scary to watch from that view.
We get back to green flag racing, the field bunched up already, though. A couple of drivers looking for opportunities here. We are checking out James Hardy behind Mick Whiting. As we see, Troy Sipple is around, contact there. Safety cars breed safety cars, and this is no exception. We've had contact between, is that Peter Sattler, I think, involved as well. Sipple manages to get rolling again, but not the restart that he would have hoped for, I'm sure, as these drivers get underway once more. John Latham towards the back of the pack as well, seems to have avoided it for the moment. But Alistair Bales, who was looking pretty good in terms of timing, finds himself up in 9th, so he's up 11 positions thanks to a little bit of good fortune with that safety car.
Yeah, definitely coming in with that early stop there. You know, his tyres are going to be a little bit older, but that low track temp doesn't really look like it's moved much. He's going to have a pretty decent luck there with that safety car, but he's really under pressure from Allman there. But you know, Bales has missed a couple of apexes, which is probably not what you want to do with these supercars, because once you miss it, you're probably not going to really touch it at all. So long braking zones here at Misano too, so that's probably definitely coming into effect with, you know, moves being put on within a few corners. Really close.
Latham and Mackay there battling it out for 18th, 19th, and sure enough, they end off in the middle of the infield. Just I wonder if there was a little bit of that aero stickiness happening there to send them off. It's just unfortunate contact. We'll go back and we'll take a look at it in a sec from a slightly better angle. But unfortunately, yeah, John Latham and Scott Mackay. I was about to jump to Scott Mackay and you know, just point out how well he was progressing through the field. I feel like that might have been a preemptive curse on my part, so I do apologise, Mr. Mackay. As Mark Poynton makes the move and gets past Matt Vanderkran, taking 5th position. Can Vanderkran respond now?
He's got that overlap there.
He's made a move up this
one.
It's side by side through the turn. Sure enough, another slowdown for Fisher appears on our timing tower. Another one. And another one. Manuel. I said earlier, I'm not particularly familiar with Misano. When I think about the number of times Misano features in a couple of the upcoming seasons across the various leagues that we cover, this is going to be a very, very interesting track to watch. It doesn't look like super long slowdowns, but I'll tell you what, I'm keen to get out and have a bit of a drive of it, Ryan, and see if it really is this touchy.
From what I can see, and the cars going around, and how much of that AstroTurf that they have to use. History speaking, if you need to use AstroTurf, you're running the risk of getting some off tracks. Will take us back to Mugello. Mugello, very similar in characteristics of this. You know, using a bit of the off tracks and as best you can, but you know, do you run the risk of doing that? As we see, Scott Gamble set the looks like his fastest lap with 38.0 or the fastest lap, but
both 38.017, I believe, was the 3-digit time. They're very, very quick, but not quite as quick as Wayne Walker's fastest of 37.78. That said, Walker has not been able to close that gap much since the restart. Both of them just starting to run away a little bit from Dean Logsdale, who's getting caught up in the moment in a bit of a battle with Mick Stewart. We're keeping our eyes here, though, on Alistair Bales, who's had Allman and Whiting all over the back. As we say that, Logsdale and Stewart just ahead. Looks as though Stewart's managed to get past in the end, as we see a 5-second penalty to car 025, which is, of course, Mick Whiting for the contact under safety car earlier. So I suspect the reason that's not been a harsher penalty is probably because of that visibility on the exit of the pits. I suspect that's probably played into the decision there. It's an interesting call regardless, but it's a tough one to penalise too harshly on this pit exit. It's a really, really tough one to see anything out of the car.
Yeah,
look, you're right. There's a relative. Yeah. There's a relative they should be paying attention to for sure, but yeah, what do you do?
Yeah, no, it's definitely interesting as I'm hearing through Race Control now. Peter Sadler cops a drive-through for contact, so that's interesting.
That'll be for the incident, I'm sure, with Troy Sipple earlier. Let's go back and see if we can get a look at that one. There it is, drive-through penalty for car number 56. This was on the restart. Peter Sattler. Keep your eye on this one, because at some point, there we go, he's gotten a bit loose and doesn't hold the brakes and actually backs it into Sipple. Which is
okay. That's
a way to do it.
Yeah, not wrong with that one there.
You don't often see that though, a rear end impact.
Rear to rear too, yeah. A rear to rear.
Misano throwing up all sorts of interesting stuff this evening. Rushworth now alongside gets through on Stephen Varga. So these guys battling it out here for 7th and 8th. And a comms warning for car number 269, Ken Ladder, for radio under safety car conditions. Of course, there are some very strict rules in most leagues around radio use and what it can and can't be used for. So the warning for Ken Ladder there, a reminder to the rest of the field as well, I'm sure, to just, take a breath before you do make the call through.
Yeah, it's an interesting race at the moment. These battle packs are really close. Wayne Walker still can't get any closer to Scott Gamble, but you've got Varga all over the back here at Rushworth. So, a bit of a runoff there from Galley. Just bringing some more, bring some more gravel, mate. Just everyone bring gravel on at this point of the race. Why not? Lap 16 and 24.
It's really making it obvious where the marbles pile up on that corner. So you've got to take the positive where you can, I suppose.
Always have to take the positives in life, Jared. That's definitely, especially if you're racing Gen 3 Supercars in Misano.
Yeah, it certainly appears that way, doesn't it?
Oh yeah.
Rebecca, the penalty was a 5-second penalty for the contact with McClifton. So probably not as severe as we were initially expecting. And if you did miss the onboard shot, the visibility there, I think, is probably contributed to that decision. I can't say for sure, of course, not being in the stewards room, but my guess is that the visibility or lack thereof that Mick Whiting had has probably contributed to that penalty being a relatively gentle one.
Yeah, and I didn't exactly see whether or not he was able to go to his position back either. But yeah, if not, that's definitely a bit of a slap on the wrist there with that one. So I'd be pretty thankful for a 5-second penalty of that one, because we all know any penalties under safety car are definitely usually escalated, because it's you're under safety car driving with caution. So, but yeah, lucky for that was only 5 seconds. So. Anything can happen here at Misano with slowdowns and stuff like that, as we see Allman.
Allman, big moment in the background. Just saves it, but he's going to lose another position. We might go back and take a quick look as well at the Mackay and Latham incident and see if we can pick up what's happened here. So they get alongside on the way into this hairpin. Somehow they end up off to the right. So Latham just trying to push too far out and turns Mackay across his nose.
Yeah.
In the end, it's kind of its own penalty to Latham. Unfortunately, Mackay getting caught up in it as well.
Yeah, that looked like a bit of a wash wide there from Latham, and then getting into the back of the car in front. As we said earlier, cars sucking together, but unfortunately not with that one. As Ladder really runs that tight there, I'm really surprised he didn't get an off track, as Bales currently gets a slowdown. So, big move up the inside from Ladder.
Scrambling to recover some positions here, and he is taking no caution at all as he charges on through. He's looking ahead and he wants to catch Luke Orman.
Yeah, he missed the apex there by a country mile, and he was lucky he didn't get dived on from Farrington behind. But yeah, he's got a bit of hammer time going on there, just trying to catch Orman up in front. 2.3 seconds behind, so we'll wait and see if he can catch him with what looks to be about 8 laps to go. So yeah, nice little battle down the back here for 19th place between Latham and Galley. So Latham gets back past. Obviously we saw that incident earlier with himself entering the pit lane, gets that, it's usually a 30 or 40 second stop and hold. So what was a good race has really turned a little bit bad for him as they go through the beach section of Misano.
I do want to get a moment at some point to just have a really close look at Dave Galley's livery, because I don't think we've seen this one so far this season, and it is an absolute cracker. Check out the kangaroo on the side.
Yeah, I was going to say that looks like that.
This is a really, really tidy livery, and then the reverse colours on the opposite side. So Dave, look, hats off to whoever's done that livery, mate. It is a fantastic looking one, and I'm going to grab some photos of that one later, I reckon.
I recognise one of those sponsors of Chubby Buns Burgers, mate. They
Absolutely.
do some cracking churros over here, I'll tell you that much. But they do better than San Churros. So shout out to Chubby Buns. You guys do some cracking meals.
Bit of a churro fan, clearly.
Yeah, I do like a good old warm churro with some white chocolate and flake on top. So.
Oh, he's got his order down pat.
Always, mate, always. We've got to have some dessert orders down pat where you can just rock up and just be like, yep, get me one of those. So, field spread out a little bit here now. Not really many battle packs going on as we saw earlier. A couple of ones there as Wayne Walker gets a slowdown again. So, question is, will this bring Stewart back to him while he tries to burn this? That's going to be interesting, but 3.1 seconds, I probably don't think so.
Still 6 laps to go, though, and Walker still hasn't cleared that one yet. So you can see, look how much he's having to drop the pace. He was at 1.8 off the back of Gamble. He's only just cleared it now by dropping an extra second to Gamble. So that's kind of second off the gap from Michael Stewart. And you can see already Stewart will smell blood in the water here, and he'll start to try and chase down. That is a that tells me that our software is picking these slowdowns up correctly. That was a huge slowdown for Wayne Walker, and this is probably the first time we've really seen him struggle this much to find pace around a track. He's still quick, don't get me wrong, but doesn't have the consistent pace that we've seen from him all season. And Scott Gamble, on the other hand, just absolutely in control out front of this race. Rick Vigo now gets the pass around Mick Clifton. Clifton back on the inside. And behind, as you'll see them come down the straight here. Something cranked up ahead. Vigar's got the pace out of that turn, so Clifton will have to slow behind. He did think for just a moment there about having a go under brakes. And here comes John Latham as well, who's dived up the inside of that same turn. So he gets the pass done on Damon Fisher. However, runs pretty wide on the exit there. He's going to have to hang on to this. Moves across to shut the door on Fisher. And now he'll turn his attention to his teammate, Phil Manuel, just up ahead. So John Latham stuck in the middle of the two Team AJR cars right now. Further up, their teammate, Luke Orman, has Ken Ladder all over his rear bar.
Ooh, Stewart with the slowdown now. So this will bring Point into the battle here for third. So
it just keeps coming, doesn't it?
It does. You really can't pick... as we said earlier in the broadcast, as he's just dropped to under half a second, the question is, when will Stewart burn this in relation to where Point is? Luckily, he's just on the straight, so he can kind of let off and hope for the best to try and hold that position. So
Ladder gets really passed done around the outside of Orman, meanwhile.
Yeah, that last lap there from Clifton, I was very interested to see that he didn't go for that move as he, coming down into turn one, also pulls it back in, because if that was me, I would definitely have probably sniffed a nose in there, but probably would have got penalised in the process too. So it's probably a good idea.
Better choice is what you're saying.
Yeah, exactly. Making the better choice, and that's why we're up here in the com box, and that's why these guys are on track, because I don't know about you, but I'm currently enjoying the M&Ms and Tim Tams you've got up here in the com box.
Mate, got to look after our team. Keep them fed and sugared up, all of that. John Latham gets Phil Manuel dispatched, and now he's got a 5.5 second gap to close to catch onto the back of Mick Clifton. Sorry, Rick Vigar now, because Clifton sends it up the inside of the Simoncelli turn. And these guys have just been trading positions turn after turn. Clifton's shot at it for a little while here. And Rick Vigar's going to look at who's that off just up ahead. That looks like it might be Todd Martin, I think. One of the lapped cars, the Quantum Racing entry.
Yeah, it does.
I suspect is Todd Martin.
Yes, yeah, because he isn't dropping down there, and he's dropping time to the car in front at a rapid rate of knots. So I would say more or less yes, but yeah, the nature of these corners, you know, the double, triple, you know, rights and lefts really opens up for people to really stick a nose in. Kind of gives me a bit of a like a lot of Interlagos kind of vibe here. As Sipple has a black flag, so this is going to be interesting on what this is for, whether it's over an X count or what's going on here. But yeah, that's a black flag. Bit interesting to see. So wait,
yeah, haven't seen anything come through from race control just yet. But yeah, look, given the amount of off tracks we've seen, the amount of car collision that we've seen so far, it wouldn't actually surprise me if Sipple's picked that up purely on an incident count.
Yeah, unfortunately I can't see the incident count until the race is done, so I'll keep an eye on that. But yeah, and he gets another slowdown just to make his day worse, unfortunately. But Farrington has Clifton all over the back of him, with Rick Vigar not too far behind. Clifton running a very different kind of race line to the other guys in front. Maybe it's given him a bit of exit speed pace. You see him really tuck in there and then drift out wide. So that's looks like he's running a different line there. It's like good to see, but at the same time, it's kind of interesting.
Simon Farrington really is what's keeping Rick Vigar in this at all at the moment. He's actually slowing Clifton down just a little, and that's giving Vigar enough of an opportunity to tack back on and stay with this pack. So Farrington, if he can keep up the defensive efforts for just a couple more laps, might just find himself holding on to this 14th position. But Clifton, I think, is just sizing him up, taking the time, and looking for the opportunity to get past. Farrington just holding steady for the moment. Very predictable, very tidy lines through most of these turns, so nothing obvious for Clifton. But you'll see here, Clifton has a bit of a look up the inside, just in case Farrington got on the brakes a little too early there. You go back into the left-hander. You're right, Clifton taking a very slightly different line through some of these turns, which is making it difficult for Vigar as well to think about any moves from back there.
Yeah,
just enough.
Yeah,
Farrington gets it wrong on the exit. There's a little bit of contact, but that's going to be what Clifton needed. He's been waiting for that mistake. Now goes around the outside, runs very, very wide. Is he going to pick up a slowdown for that one? Who knows at Misano, honestly.
Yeah, that was definitely in the pilot seat there for Clifton. He was really being a pest in the mirror of Farrington. As Farrington comes back, bangs his door into the entry of the corner, but this puts him under threat from Vigar. But look who's just back there. That's Latham. Latham's thought, boys, keep fighting. This is bringing me into the fight. You know, will he gain 3 more spots with just on 2 and a bit laps to go? This is getting really spicy here, gents. Try not to have any penalties come into play, but yeah, as I said earlier, Clifton was at the same time as attacking, he was also defending Vigar, so it was very hard
position, wasn't it?
It was, and as you say, now here we go. We got reverse the roles. You've got now Farrington under attack from Vigar, but attacking Clifton at the same time. So Clifton hasn't really. Yeah, see, John Latham has caught up really quickly to the back of these guys, so now he's going to attack Vigar, and then Farrington straight after that. Oh, nearly tucks a nose in there to Vigar, and will we see a move here into turn 1 from Latham? This is the question. I don't think he's far enough up.
Oh, it'll be turn 3, I reckon. Seems to be the go here. Turn 1, turn 2, not ideal for it, but here's John Latham. See that title line out of 3. He's holding the inside. He's getting that wheel alongside the rear cord, and this will be it. Sends the dive into 4.
Really
Farrington
nice
holds
run,
him up just a little, but John Latham gets the move done. Rick Vigar drops back to 17th, but absolutely hugs the rear bar of John Latham. He wants to follow him through because he knows that Latham will be putting a move on Farrington in short order, and I reckon this will be it. Vigar looks inside. Latham goes in. He's going to go hard under brakes here. Looks for the overlap. Can't quite get there, but Farrington leaves the door open. That's going to be enough.
Oh, wow.
Latham gets alongside. Can he get the distance, or is Farrington going to be back on the inside? Farrington manages to hold inside. Yeah, this is what he wants. This is what Latham wants, is a bit of an over-under opportunity.
There it is. He's trying to get the drive out. He can't. But while this is all happening, look at Clifton. He's pulled a 1.2 second gap over Farrington just while Latham's brought into play.
As we hit the final lap, white flag out for Scott Gamble and Wayne Walker. Michael Stewart crossing on as well. Poynton picks up a slowdown. Who'd have thought?
And Logsdale right on his tail there. So, out. Is he gone into what's? Oh, okay. Looks like the timing's just having a bit of a stroke there. So
it's just having a moment.
Yeah.
Now, how's Poynton going to burn this off in time? That's the question. We see Logsdale go back up the inside. That's the last of that slowdown. So Poynton did a great job to burn that off without losing too much track position.
Careful, he doesn't pick up one there.
Side by side now, as we go down this this longer of the straights. Yeah, Misano, Dean Logsdale has a little bit more pace, but Poynton has the inside for this turn. Logsdale locks up the rear under brakes, just pulls back into line, but that's going to cost him significant exit speed. Vargs picks up a slowdown. Ladder picks up a slowdown. They're going off everywhere.
Slow down for you. Slow down for you.
Yeah, I feel like
got a spinner in the back here. Vanderkraan makes a bit of a spin there. Loses a couple of positions in the process. That's a very unfortunate one there on the final lap. Drops all the way down from 6th to 8th. That's very unfortunate there. As Logsdale couldn't get that move done on Poynton, but Scott Gamble.
Manuel's off. Contact with Rick Vigar, I believe. And that put him off into the leads. While all of that's going on, we go back to the finish line. The white flags go away. The checkered flag comes out at the control line, and here comes Scott Gamble in the end, making it look fairly easy. Wayne Walker comes home with second, and Michael Stewart home in third place for 9.5 SimSport. Mark Poynton ends up in fourth, manages to hold off Dean Logsdale after that incident earlier. Now Vargs and Rushworth will bring it all the way to the line, but Vargs has enough of a lead there that I don't think they'll be swapping across the line. Matt Vanderkraan finishing in 8th with Mick Whiting not far behind, and here comes the rest of the pack. Ladder and Bales across the line ahead of Hardy and Ullman. Mick Clifton, we are waiting to round that corner, and here he comes, a solid 14th ahead of John Latham in the end. And a few more drivers yet to finish as we wait. Now we might go back and take a look at this in just a second, because Vigar, Galley and Manuel bring it all the way to the line. Might just take a moment to see if we can see what happened there with Phil Manuel and Rick Vigar. Go back and take a look at this. Vigar's had a moment coming together with Simon Farrington. Manuel goes and says, oh, okay, I'll pick up 2 positions here. And I don't know how they've managed to come together, but Vigar just turns Manuel across his nose. I don't know if he didn't realise he was there or what's happened, but that has been enough to put Manuel off into the wall. Tell you what, a pretty eventful race number 1 here. That 24 laps flying by, and the results look a little something like this. Scott Gamble taking the win and the 150 points ahead of Wayne Walker, 7 points back in second place. And Michael Stewart and Poynton ahead of Logsdale and Varga, Rushworth and Vanderkraan ahead of Mick Whiting and Ken Ladder. Rounding out your top 10 with Alistair Bales and James Hardy just missing out. Does mean, though, that we'll see an all-fishy front row in the reverse top 10 for race number 2. So keep your eye on that. Ken Ladder loves a bit of clean air, and starting up front is going to be very, very tempting for him. Your top 20 on screen there. We'll take a look a little bit further back through the pack. Craig Rose just missing out on the top 20 ahead of Ashley Hall. Peter Sattler and Scott Mackay, the last of the drivers to finish on the lead lap. Andrew Johnston and Todd Martin finishing a lap down. Troy Sipple with that late black flag ends 5 laps down. And then Dan Hall, unfortunately, not able to have the motor repaired in time to get back out on track. But we'll see him in race number 2 shortly. Lorne McKee, yeah, not a great race 1 for him. We'll see if we see him back for race number 2.
Yeah, that was very unfortunate there for Lorne McKee, getting that, and then obviously that that engine going ejecto-cedo there for Dan Hall, so pulled the classic old Josh Harris there. So yeah, going to be interesting to see what this race 2 all fishy front row can do. Ken Latta and Michael Whiting on the front row with Matt Vanderkraan and Andrew Rushworth from the second. We know that Matt has some pretty decent pace on him when he wants to. So if he gets a good start, gets up the inside and gets past, and takes off, and can he pull away from him before Scott Gamble and Wayne Walker decide to blitz their way through. But in saying that, as well as I do, once you put the fast guys in the mix of cars, the dirty air and everything else, it's only a matter of time, but it takes them quite a bit of time to get back through and up towards the front.
It absolutely does. I expect, though, that if last round is anything to go by, it won't take long for Walker and Gamble to make their way through. That said, the pack of 10 that we've got there, some pretty decently quick drives in amongst it, so I'm sure it'll be a bit more of a challenge, particularly at Misano, where there have been so few opportunities to get a pass done. Josh Harris chipping in and saying that this race has made him scared for 90 minutes of Misano in GT3s. And that he'd like to see an incident count increase to 50 per race. I can understand that, given what we've seen in race 1 here, given that just the sheer volume of off-tracks that we saw there. And I know that these drivers are pushing the absolute limits of track width, and well, they should, with the skill level we've got in the Alliance Sim Racing roster. But I don't think I've ever seen another track bring on that many slowdowns, regardless of how long they are actually being given in terms of slowdown seconds. Just the sheer volume we've seen tonight, I don't know. I just don't know what to expect from race 2. Are these slowdowns so small that they're actually inconsequential here at Misano, and so these drivers aren't too worried about picking them up, maybe?
Either that, or they can kind of just, not get too many to begin with, and then on the end when they're pushing, they can just get a couple of off tracks. Because I know I did that at Mugello. I saved me off tracks until the end, until I was pushing, and thought I get only an off track here, not a slowdown, so I might as well just use and abuse them. So maybe that might be the case. Sometimes they might run wide or something like that, but yeah, without actually knowing, it'll be a little bit hard to tell. But yeah, I kind of agree with Josh here. But in saying that, the GT3s have a bit more aero, so it might be one hand you have it good, one hand you have it bad. So, but yeah, it'll be interesting.
We'll see how it plays out. We can go to a quick ad break. We'll be right back with the start of race number 2. Don't go anywhere. Welcome back, folks. It's race number 2 of round 9, our penultimate round in season 5 of the Alliance Sim Racing V8 Supercar Series, brought to you by, of course, Quantum Tint Solutions and West Automotive, with support from Nicol Photography and 24/7 Sim Services, as always covered right here by Simple Racing Broadcast. And the crowd of drivers getting on the grid. We'll just run through this top 10, keeping in mind it is a reverse top 10, so Kent Latta and Michael Whiting take the front row ahead of Vanderkraan and Rushworth, then Vargs and Logsdale on row 3. Mark Point and Michael Stewart ahead of Wayne Walker and Scott Gamble, who both start on row number 5. with this reverse top 10 grid. The rest of the field starting as they finished in race number 1. Let's go down to the track and get ready to go racing once again as the drivers get themselves lined up and onto the grid in pretty short order. They're jumping into it pretty quickly here this evening.
Yeah, I will probably do the same thing. I'm always keen to race on in a Gen 3. I thoroughly enjoyed racing Gen 3s on Monday nights because I actually put the practice in, and
Amazing the difference that makes, eh?
Yeah, exactly. You know what I mean? Like, we compared the times from last season to this season, and I magically gained a second and a half to nearly 3 seconds because I decided to actually put in the practice. For lo and behold, who would have thought?
And we talked to a lot of the drivers here at ASR about the practice laps they put in, and it's no surprise to hear that for the quicker drivers amongst this crowd, they're putting in a solid 200-300 plus laps of practice for each track each week. It's no wonder that they see the lap times they do, and so personally my benchmark is if I can get within about 6 seconds of this pack, I feel like I'm doing pretty well in a Gen 3 supercar. But that's more a statement on my level of skill behind the wheel of one of these than anything else.
That's approaching Josh kind of practice levels. He does that many laps, and I do probably 15 or 20. He approaches the 100, 150 mark.
You'd be faster, wouldn't you?
Oh, you definitely think so, but
it's so easy to throw shade when he's not here. So easy.
Always.
And we'll take full advantage.
Problem is, I'm seeing him on Friday night, so I'm probably going to cop a backhand to the forehead. So.
And rightly so. We've got all of the drivers gridded up. We're just waiting on the back of the field to be confirmed by race stewards. And we're about to go racing here for race number 2. A reminder, reverse top 10 here. Still 24 laps for race 2, though. We're about to get underway. Watching the lights, Ken Latter and Michael Whiting on the front row for Fishing Motorsports. And we are away. A small bog down from Whiting, but here comes Wayne Walker. Look at that launch already into it. We've got a slow car at the back of the field. That looks like that was Dave Galley just struggling to get it off the line there as we make our way around Misano once again, and we've got contact with Galley, and that looks like Todd Martin down the back as well, getting caught up. Thankfully not too much damage as we make our way into race number 2. You can see a big look up the inside there from, I believe that was Michael Stewart, taking a bit of a chance to try and get past Scott Gamble. And these guys starting to weave their way through. There's the first slowdown, Michael Stewart clipping the first one only a few turns in. And we can see already Dean Logsdale now looking for an opportunity to pass Andrew Rushworth, and gets it done on that turn. Latter and Whiting, meanwhile, out in front, starting to put a bit of clear air in there, and you can see just in the background here behind that quantum car, that is Wayne Walker and Scott Gamble trying desperately to make their way through.
Yeah, they haven't really made up much spots there. Wayne Walker and Scott Gamble only making 1 spot each, but cars really in a big cluster at the moment. While Latter's thought, he's give me some 6/10ths and I'll try and pull away from the field and wait and see, because there's not really many passing opportunities as you saw in race 1. There was obviously turn 3 there, but the other driver we need to watch out for is Latham back there in 12th. So depending on how far he can push, he was pretty quick in race 1. So where will he end up here? There was a bit of a mishap on the first lap there, so we'll wait and see what race control will come through with that one. I do have my race control radio on, so I'll keep an eye out on that one. But we've got to move up here, 4.9 Rushworth into turn 1. You really got to be careful not to get that off track there, because that's playing with slowdown territory there.
Absolutely is. I'm not surprised to see it in this field, but tell you what, that sort of side-by-side through 1 and 2 here at Misano on relatively cold tyres, you've only really had the 1 lap. It's not ideal. There we go, pit lane penalty for car number 82. That's Phil Manuel starting from pit lane for the incident late in race 2. Sorry, not pit lane start. Phil Manuel's going to have a drive-through, which will be...
It was the start, that turn 1 mishap there that Phil was involved in. So
there you go.
I think he ended up spinning a car or something like that. But yeah, he did get black flagged. His Viago gets a slowdown there. So as we said it, mate, we haven't even finished the 2 yet, and he's already got one. So
Yeah, it's this track. I've got to go back and have a look at just how tight the margins are here, because I don't think these drivers are actually racking up any more off tracks than you see anywhere else. I think Misano just loves to hand out slowdowns for every off track, it seems. They don't seem to be particularly long ones, so these guys are clearing them fairly easily.
Rename the track to Oprah Rhino.
Yeah, that's about all
you get a slowdown. You get a slowdown. Speak of the devil, McKean Sippel get one.
Turned. Troy Sippel.
Oh no, that's unfortunate there.
The Sippel's around a bit of damage there. He's going to have to wait for the rest of this traffic to come through. Lorne McKee dumps the clutch to get moving again. So a bit of contact there, and that spears them both off the track.
Oh.
Lorne McKee into the wall. That's a heavy contact. Just a little impatient to get rolling. He's lit those tyres up.
Shaft there. That
that rear
not
right.
in a good way.
No, that's not looking good at all. And that is back to the pits. I suspect that might be Lorne McKee's night done.
Yeah, well, considering it looks like he just towed there and I didn't hear anything come over, so that'll be a unfortunate one. But yeah, Meatball there. Not sure what's going on as Vargar gets another slowdown. So losing some more spots, but that can definitely make or break. As we see here, Wayne Walker up to 6, Scott Gamble in 9th. So Scott hasn't really made up as much ground as what Wayne has. So that's probably going to play into the hands there of Wayne here for race 2. But
which is what Walker needed, really.
Yeah,
Scott Gamble, got the slight points advantage through race number 1. Walker needs to regather those points to just really cement his championship here tonight. And with this sort of gap, I mean, a long way to go, obviously, in this race, but if he can finish, 3, 4, 5 spots ahead of Scott Gamble, then signed, sealed, delivered, that's it. The championship is pretty well done and dusted. And let's be honest, it was going to be a tough ask for Gamble to catch Wayne Walker in the championship with 2 rounds left. But yeah, Walker's going to need to suffer a pretty catastrophic failure here to give Gamble a shot at that number 1 position. Yeah,
but it's not over till it's over. Of the end there, really deep on the brakes there.
And there goes Gamble.
For Gamble, he went really deep on the brakes, got into the car in front, and then it looked like just a concertina effect there into turn 2. So very unfortunate, but yeah, wow, that's a bit of an interesting one. A couple of reports coming over from Scott about that incident, so we'll wait and see what that comes through with. But yeah, that was a very close proximity incident there, but not what he wants in relation to points that he's going to wash off to Wayne in this race. But there's never a chance of it's not over till the end. And unless Wayne has enough points to cement it after this penultimate round, it's never over. Something may happen to Wayne and he may not have come to the final round, but we never wish that upon drivers, but there's always the chance.
We saw that last season. Matt Vanderkran, if memory serves, got hit with the old COVID and was unable to race in the last round, and that was really what handed the championship over. It was a very close run thing until that point. So anything can happen, and often does, as we see Barg, Stewart and Latham at the back end of the top 10. Stewart picks up a slowdown. Well, gets a big nudge there from Latham. He's going to spear across, takes out one of the Team AJ cars. He's into the wall hard.
Whoa.
That's a big hit. Just trying to see who that is. That's Luke Orman into the wall. Further back, you've got Michael Stewart still sitting on the front row. John Latham's waiting to try and redress, so I'm surprised to see Orman running again.
We nearly had a really bad rejoin.
Oh, Todd Martin
that was so close.
Just makes it through the field.
Spearing everywhere. That was very, very scary. Oh, and then Latham coming together with the car behind him. What is happening here, gents? What is going on?
Take a look at this for Todd Martin. Let's go on board and see what his view is like as he comes around the final bend. There's Michael Stewart off to the right. Just rejoins immediately in front. Has to evade Luke Orman. Picks up 3 spots, but I reckon Todd's had a few words to those guys in his helmet. Not over the radio, of course, but definitely would have had something to say about that, I suspect. It was
not
a tight enjoy.
For Stewart to incident on, I think, last lap or whatever it
would have been
was.
last lap, lap 5, lap 4, depending on where you count that one.
Yeah, depending on where it is. They haven't really put it through yet, so we'll wait and see what that is. But yeah, definitely a drive through there, so we'll wait and see. But yeah, that was a very scary rejoin. I know that my pants were nearly brown in the commentator's box, let alone in the car.
Yeah, the view from on board with Todd Martin made it really clear how close that was. Honestly, just straight back on the track for Stewart, and yeah, lucky that Martin was watching him and expecting the move and giving him just enough space. But anyway, we'll leave that in the hands, as always, of 24/7 Sim Services and their outstanding stewarding responses. I'm sure we'll get an update as and when they get through all of that. We take a look now at the battle of first, because Ken Ladder and Mick Whiting, in amongst all of that, have been getting just slowly chipped away at by Vanderkraan, who's bringing Mark Point with him, and Wayne Walker is not far behind at all. We've also got Dean Logsdale in this pack, so up front, a much closer battle than we saw in race 1, at this point at least. It's really a question of when Wayne Walker makes his way through this pack rather than if. And that might just be a question of the big moment there as Scott Mackay spears off, locks the brakes up, manages to pull it up, still on the hard surface, doesn't get into the kitty litter, so he drops back in behind his teammate Scott Gamble. It's Scott in 13th and 14th, and they come together as they try to avoid Simon Farrington, who ends up sideways. And unfortunately for Dan Hall, his night not getting much better for the ERT entry. Drops another couple of positions, but thankfully the motor's still intact as long as he just babies it around a little bit from here.
Yeah, don't do any Josh Harris treatment, punching it down a couple of gears. But no, that's all horns are out in this race. This is why I love reverse grids. I love reverse grids because it really shakes everything up. You know, the fast guys are mixed in with the not so fast guys. I wouldn't say slow.
I was going to say that there's no slow drivers here. There are some less fast drivers, perhaps, but no one who is slow. It does mean, though, that Wayne Walker needs to battle through from 10th. And so far, up 4 spots. So, well, 9th, to be fair. Yeah, up 4 spots. At the moment, as you see, just a little puff of smoke there from Dean Logsdale behind. Walker quite content at the moment to just sit in. I think he's seen Gamble veer off the track behind and end up a few spots back, and that's relieved a little bit of pressure. You know, Walker doesn't need to push super hard here. He doesn't need to be out in front at this stage. He's probably just enjoying a little bit of fuel saving at the moment, just to minimise the amount of time he needs to spend in the pits to get home.
Yeah,
Clifton's had a bit of a moment there, I think.
What was happening with John Latham? I think he may have gotten some contact penalties or something. I'm not too sure, but he's got a black flag currently, so not sure what has happened here with John. But actually, yeah, that's very odd. So we'll wait and see what that was for. But yeah, it's very crazy racing going on here at the moment. So
it gets late in the season, everyone gets a little antsy about points, maybe. You know, and there's no malice in it, of course. It's just, you know, these guys race hard even when they're taking it easy. You get to this pointy end of the season where, you know, an extra position or two on the championship ladder at the end of the season is a matter of pride and bragging rights. And yeah, it just does amp up the competition ever so slightly, and you're seeing the result of that here tonight. A lot of moves being put on here that I don't think you'd usually see around a track like Misano. You know, a lot of the drivers would actually be relying a little more on mistakes from the drivers, as Vanderkraan almost loses the rear end of that Angry Birds Mustang, somehow keeps it in a straight line.
I've just given John Latham commentator's curse because he's just copped a race control black flag. So I'm assuming that's from the incident on lap 4 on the main straight, which then moved into turn 1 to where he got rear-ended by Craig Rose. So yeah, a bit of an interesting one, but we see some first drivers start to come in here. We got Allman and Farrington. They're the first two to pit, so we'll keep an eye on them a little bit further in the race on where they come out in relation to the other cars in front. So that's Yeah, as I said earlier in the stream, Joe, I don't think the 50% fuel cap's going to make the end. They're going to have to pit, so that's why there is no mandatory fuel stop. Mandatory pit stop. So it's the 60. We'd run about 61.5 liters on a or 61.7. So, but yeah, car 24 here. Yeah, there it is. It's just come up now.
That's John Latham's pit lane penalty for the incident on lap 4. And we'll go back and see if I can track that down here.
But yeah, so this race here is definitely interesting. As I was saying earlier, you've got Wayne probably hasn't made as much moves being in this package. You can see these times hopping up 39.5, 39.7, 39.5, 39.8, 39.7 for Wayne there. So he's doing the same amount of lap times as the cars in front. So he's not kind of gaining on these guys. But the question is, does he make an early pit stop? The only problem with that is where he will come out as well. So he's kind of got to keep an eye on that in saying that. But we've got Peter Sattler, Clifton in a battle here with Rick Varga too. So the
Angry Birds cars mixing up there.
Yeah,
Clifton just tagging along for the moment.
The teammates just having a bit of a battle here, which is always good to see. Have teammates have battles and not hit each other.
I was going to say, watch this one closely, Ryan, and you at home as well, Josh, because this is how team racing's meant to be done, where you don't actually wipe each other out. Now, to be fair, Rick and Peter not battling for P1 and P2 right now, like a certain ADHD race I will never forget. But you'll notice the clear daylight you can see between their cars, and I would advise that you take that into consideration next time out. There are 2 slowdowns on the timing tower right now. Mick Clifton gets the pass done on Rick Varga and moves up into 15th spot. We look ahead now to Matt Vanderkran, who still has Wayne Walker in behind him. This says to me that Walker is absolutely on a fuel-safe strategy at the moment. Let's go back and see. I think we've got the incident here, perhaps. This is Latham's restart.
Just wait here into turn 1. Watch him get rear-ended.
Goes, oh, wow. Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
It does look to me, though, that Craig was coming in very
coming in at a rate of knots.
I don't think he was getting that stopped, and he decided to use Latham as brakes.
Yeah, that's...
Let's jump on board here and see how hot he comes into turn 1. Yeah, look at this. He was not getting that part stopped.
Never getting that stopped.
Never. No. Yeah, so that's a bit of an interesting one there. May have been from the initial incident, but I haven't seen any penalty come up there. But in all fairness, in relation to me and Josh racing together, we had a very good race last night at Road Atlanta. We didn't come together, and this season he's been pushing me, so we've been racing very good. Because I think we're going to have consistent PTSD from said race, where we didn't visit Curry Beach, where Curry visited Curry Beach multiple times, so that's why Mitch now has the nickname of Curry Beach Turn 2 at Oran Park. So for anyone watching, Turn 2 at Curry Beach at Oran Park is now nicknamed Curry Beach.
And forever will be, at least here with Simple Racing Broadcast. Wayne Walker still just enjoying what little aero benefit there is. Picks up a slowdown on that turn as we look at him. It's honestly, like, it doesn't even look that he's actually going off track all that far, and yet it's still... Now this is an interesting one. Scott Mackay coming out of pit lane. Telemetry's picking it up as a crash for Scott Mackay, but I think it might actually be just the slowdown that comes on the exit of pit lane. We'll go and we'll take a quick look. So Phil Manuel comes past Scott Mackay here. You can see Mackay, yeah, so it is just the very slow pace on the way out of pit lane here that actually gets detected by the software as an incident. So Scott Mackay back on track without an issue. Always confusing for us here in the booth when we look at this telemetry, telling us people are crashing when they're not. As we see Ashley Hall and Craig Rose side by side, this is always dangerous. Rose goes very wide. Hall pulls it up and loses another couple of spots, but you can see Craig Rose out there in the kitty litter just will not get that stopped. He loses a few positions as a result. Ends up back behind Damon Fisher from Team AJR. An interesting set of moves that ended up with Manuel, Mackay, and I think it was Damon Fisher there also carrying a slowdown from those. Seriously, Misano, what is this?
I don't think I'm too excited to race this track as we see Phil Manuel and Mackay pick up slowdowns. Lo and behold, who would have thought?
Yeah, it's every turn. Every turn, an off track is picking up a slowdown if the off track is on the inside edge. That's I had heard little bits here and there about Misano being a massive slowdown track, as we see Todd Martin locks that rear left up and goes wide. Dave Galley gets the easy pass as a result. But having seen it happen in the flesh, it's something else altogether. Sattler and Clifton now. Can Clifton get this pass done on Peter Sattler? This is the battle for 10th. Clifton looking for a way through. Is he going to send it up the inside here? Big lock up from Dan Hall, who runs wide. Up ahead, this is an opportunity for Sattler and Clifton to close the gap. Is this about to become a three-way battle for 9th instead? So
you see some cars in front. Yeah, I was going to say, there's the cars in front currently running in the pit stops. Yeah, there's a couple of cars that are running longer. Cars are pitting here, end of lap 11, start at 12, so they're kind of splitting it in two. The question is, you know, running a little bit longer, you'll get the tyre advantage here towards the end. So Rushworth got a 13-second gap over Hardy in P2 currently, but as we know, I think the leading car that entered the pits is Ladder. So keep an eye on where
there's a bit of movement. Have a look at this.
Yeah,
as Wayne Walker has Ken Ladder come flying out of the pits alongside. There's contact into the back of Point and cold tyres. And Maher Point and Ken Ladder end up off the track. Ken Ladder very, very deep into the kitty litter. He's got a long way to make it back, and he's going to fall down through the order. I tell you what, coming out 2 or 3 wide of that pit exit, there was always going to be the risk, and sure enough, that's what's done it.
Yeah, the joys of cold tyres on these things. Not as bad as GT3s, but they still are cold.
Absolutely, they are. The gap right now, so Wayne Walker, after all of that, comes out as the front driver of those who have pitted. Andrew Rushworth going in right now has a 35-second gap, but with about a minute or so expected in the pits at this point, he will probably find himself somewhere down around, I'd say, 20th when he does come back out of the pits. So, unfortunately, won't enjoy the positioning for too much longer. With apologies to Rebecca Clifton, giving Andrew a bit of support. He's going to drop down through the field a fair way once he does come through.
As a black flag for something, so we'll keep an eye on that, and nothing's come through as of yet. So that may either be off tracks or entering the pits too early, or not too sure.
Well,
but
it could have been. Was he involved in that incident a moment ago? I don't think he was. So, although he did come out at about the same time, we'll give me a tick and we'll see if we can track this down as to exactly where that all kind of went wrong there.
Yeah, not too sure what happened, but I did just watch his onboard back. He had a bit of an interesting pit entry, pushing the car in front along.
This is Ken Ladder's off track, so you've got Wayne Walker on the inside. There's Mark Poynton. I don't think that's definitely not involved in that anywhere.
3 cars into one corner is never going to work, especially
that doesn't tend to.
No.
So 5-second penalty there.
The ladder gets that penalty. That's interesting. Wow.
I mean, he was the first into the back of Poynton, so it makes sense from our very quick view of it, at least. So there's Hall and Fisher now. As Ashley Hall fights to hold on to P16, goes very, very wide on the exit and drops 17. Damon Fisher goes through. Ashley Hall picks up a slowdown for going wide on the exit. He just... Come on, Misano, what is this? Phil Manuel and James Hardy now. Oh, mate, I tell you what, I am now looking forward to Misano as probably one of my favourite tracks to commentate, because this is just going to be popping up all over the place. Peter Sattler's going to fall back through the field. For a moment there, he was enjoying a plus 20 gain through the field. Rick Vigo out in front right now, has gained 17 positions from the start, but does need to make his pit stop. So enjoy it while you can, Rick. It's it'll be fleeting, but enjoy it for what it's worth, mate.
Yep, that's the way. So, yeah, currently, as you said earlier, you got Wayne Walker, so he will be the leading car after Rick Vigar makes his pit stop with 1 second penalty. 1 second gap over Michael Whiting. So, having Wayne out in front, he's just going to now put in lap after lap after lap in quick laps, because the car that that battled with him in race 1 is sailing down in 26th place. So probably not where Scott Gamble wants to be, but not ideal.
No, not ideal. Peter Sattler just out of the pits has it's John Latham a lap down in behind him. I had a moment of wondering what on earth Latham was doing there, but he is, of course, back. Michael Stewart back in 21st on reasonably fresh tyres has just set the fastest lap of the race at 38.52. Now, worth pointing out that Wayne Walker and Michael Whiting both are 38.66 last lap, which is also their best. So, on those fresh tyres, Michael Stewart with a bit of clear air ahead of him, although not a great deal, has managed a couple of extra tenths in his lap, with Wayne Walker now taking the lead of the race as Rick Vigar comes in to the pits for his top up of fuel to get home.
It would have actually been interesting. I didn't actually own Misano until before this, so the fuel burn in relation to if you could have, realistically fuel saved quite a decent amount to make it to the end, or as close to the end as you could, granted that the pit stop travel / stop itself is roughly, as you said, about a minute or so. So a minute 39 lap time can really go a long way. Say you're doing 142s, you might only drop say 30 or 40 seconds, but you got to kind of weigh up the differences. Do you burn that much time to save a stop, or it's definitely thinking on the fly kind of speculation. But Stewart getting a off track, as we have seen.
Once again. Dean Logsdale now about to try the move on Matt Vanderkraan. Can't quite get close enough on that one, but still threatening. Mark Poynton off in the background is trying to catch up to this group. Mick Whiting out in front looking reasonably comfortable, but Logsdale does seem to have the pace at the moment. He was a good 2.5, 3 tenths quicker last lap than Vanderkraan, so he's starting to close in there. We've also got a bit further in the pack, Dan Hall and Mick Clifton with Peter Sattler in behind. These three still keeping in touch at the moment, not actually in position to put any moves on or to get any kind of slipstream advantage. We know there's not a lot of aero advantage to be had behind these Gen 3 supercars anyway, but every little bit helps around any track. It doesn't take much though to fall out of range of that, and so it's going to be up to Peter Sattler and Mick Clifton to put in some pretty cracking lap times if they do want to try and catch Dan Hall, who at the moment is pretty consistently lapping about a half second faster. You can see the gap starting to widen now. Clifton's going to try and go with him as we come down to turn 1. We'll jump back to the front because Mick Whiting, Matt Vanderkraan has now caught up to. Logsdale still with them, so this is now a 3-way battle for 2 remaining podium spots as we get into the last third of this race. Give or take 8 laps to run here. Wayne Walker right back where he wants to be, out in front with some clean air around him. Question will be who fills out the next 2 spots on our podium this evening.
Yeah, that'll be definitely interesting to see who will fill that, because you've got Vanderkraan all over the back of Whiting here, not really letting him go, but right behind him he's got Logsdale, so it could realistically be any 3 of these cars, but you've got Poynton only 2.1 seconds back, which realistically, if any of these cars get a slowdown, can suddenly lose that gap. So yeah, the odds of getting slowdowns here, very high. Not as high as a safety car percentage, but yeah, I wouldn't be happy if I was Whiting at the moment. Granted, you've got Vanderkraan so close to you. Look at that time difference there from Wayne. As soon as he gets out in front, 139.1. Cars behind him doing 139.5. So that's exactly what I was saying earlier. You know, he's doing the same amount of lap times with cars around him. But yeah, as you said, probably fuel saving, so he had a shorter pit stop, so he's jumped the cars in the pit. So very smart there by Wayne. You know, looking in the long run and really managing that stint.
And worth pointing out, when I take a look at the other drivers who pitted on the same lap as Wayne Walker, so Mark Poynton came in on lap 10, as did Walker. Wayne Walker taking a full second and 1/10 less in his pit box than Mark Poynton, and that's been a pretty consistent story all season. Wayne Walker has been an absolute bullet through the pit bay, even when taking on pretty similar amounts of fuel. He's really got the pit stops nailed down. Even accounting for, you know, there is a small, very small variance built into iRacing to account for what we call a bit of randomness in your actual pit stop time, to introduce a bit of a variable that is, you know, meant to be the slight difference from pit team to pit team. It's not enough to be a second and a tenth, though. We're talking fractions of a second that varies from stop to stop. So that's not enough to explain just how quick Wayne Walker has been in his pit stops, and it does come down to, in the end, really, really smart racing and good fuel saving, as we see Rick Vargo now looking for the move up the inside of Farrington. Can't quite get there this time around, but he's going to stick right with him as we make our way through these right-hand sweepers. Closes it up to within a couple tenths. Can he get a move done here? He's going to stay right behind Farrington, looking for the drive out of the turn. Gets a nice tight exit. Goes a little wide to open this turn up. Can he make the room here? Farrington doing a great job of just planting that car exactly where Varga wants to pass, which will be frustrating for Rick for sure. But that is part of racing. Here we go. Varga thinks he's got the drive out of the turn. A really aggressive move. Farrington just calmly moves his way across, takes his line, and they go through turn 1 and turn 2, and Vigo ends up an extra tenth further back. This is something that you've had plenty of experience and certainly put on a couple of good shows for us throughout the season that we've been watching on the Monday nights, Ryan. Defensive driving in Gen 3 Supercar, it's a pretty core skill, isn't it?
Yeah. Well, defensive driving in general is pretty hard to get right. But once you get right, it can actually definitely work in your favour. Like if I was Farrington right here, I would definitely be able to put Scott Vargo wherever I want him to. Rick Vargo wherever I want him to. So that's just me. You know, some people kind of haven't picked that up, but I've been obviously racing and having to defend cars like that for years. So I've kind of picked it up over the course. But you know, my attacking probably isn't as strong as my defending. But I can, you know, Mitch and Josh can probably say here that my defending is probably, you know, one of the hardest to get past. It's definitely something you got to do in the Gen 3 with the high power and low grip. You got to really put the car where you want it, as well as move the car around behind you. So you kind of got a bunch of things going on at once without, you know, having an incident, as we see.
Rose and Ashley Hall.
Yeah. Just ran into the back of Rose there, and looks like he got himself a drive-through in the process.
That'd be the incident points coming around.
Yep.
It gives you an idea of just how stringent Misano actually is with the off-tracks, because clearly I don't think I've ever seen this number of black flags handed out for incident counts. It's not a race control action in this particular instance.
Yeah.
I don't think I've ever seen. I don't think I've even ever seen one handed out, if I think back on this season of ASR. So, Mr. Palmer, when it comes to Misano in your next GT3 season, best of luck to you, mate. I'm gonna thoroughly enjoy watching this happen, I reckon.
I'll do my best, and I'll try and push some cars out there so they can get slowdowns. But I'll try and do it as tactically as I can. So we'll wait and see. But no, it's providing some pretty good racing, and it'd be good to see the GT3s here with that a bit more aero. You know, it's been some good racing with the Gen 3, as we know the cars lack aero. As Logsdale all over the back of Vanderkraan here into turn 1, unfortunately doesn't have it there. Really opening that corner up there to turn 1, using all of that AstroTurf to try and get a little bit of an over-underdone here on Van der Kraan to carry that speed through turn 1, 2, 3. Rose, another slowdown. Here you go, sir. Haha. Yeah, so it's the way that these cars go. I'm surprised that they're kind of holding on as best they can with these tyres. But you know, looking at it, the track temp is only 21 degrees, so it's only gone up 1 degree. So that's why we've seen these lap times be within, say, a second and a half over the whole stint of the race, because they're not really burning the tyres, and it looks like it's a low deck track too, which is probably a benefit.
And it is surprising. It must just be a very, very nice track surface, because ordinarily you put a Gen 3 supercar around these sort of sweeping turns and it will absolutely annihilate the slicks on
those
them.
rears. Yep.
Yeah, it doesn't seem to be happening so much tonight, which is, you know, it's not bad news at all. It's just a little surprising. You don't often see it, as we see Alistair Bales just has a bit of a moment, and Scott Mackay comes cruising on through. Steps on up into 9th position. I think that battle between Logsdale and Van der Kraan has slowed them both down, because Mick Whiting, now out to just over a second ahead of them, is looking pretty comfortable for a P2 finish as we approach the closing stages of race number 2 here in round 9.
Yeah, I would definitely be happy here if I was Whiting, especially with Van der Kraan and Logsdale fighting behind him. He's just kind of like, yep, keep doing that, boys, because I can keep putting in some solid laps there. As you see, Van der Kraan putting in 39.8, Logsdale 49.2, and Whiting ever so slightly faster. But in saying that, he's now dropped under a second, and he's in, you know, relative slipstream range. But we've got a good battle here still with Farrington, Rick Weiger, and Allman. You know, where would you want to be, Jared, in this fight? I probably would like to be in Allman's shoes at the moment, because, you know, save your tyres a little bit, and then you know, kind of place the car where you want it, let Weiger attack, and then, you know, take the spots whenever you get the chance.
Look, honestly, I think where I'd rather be is in a faster car with more downforce. If I'm up against any of the drivers here, if you put me in Gen 3 against these guys, where you'll find me is probably about, if you see where Scott Gamble is down in 27th, put me about 45 seconds behind him, and I reckon you'll probably find me somewhere floating around there in this company.
Around Troy Sipple's mark, 15 laps down.
Possibly around about there, mate, is where I'd expect to be.
Yeah.
No, look, you're right, the three-way battle here, I would always prefer to be the last car, because you can apply a bit of pressure to that middle car while they're attacking, as we see Weiger go for that move. And what you're waiting to do, essentially, is pick up the scraps from exactly this sort of move. But that can happen. Farrington gets loose into the wall, and Allman collects him on the way through. That is the risk, of course, of being behind them. If you are not in the right spot when the incident happens, then you end up just as involved as anyone else. Rick Weiger now cruises away with nothing but space around him. That's unfortunate for Farrington.
Yeah, that was really unfortunate. That was proving to be a good battle, and that was also unfortunate there for Allman too. Copped that Mustang right in the front of the car, just had nowhere to go. Very unfortunate. Yeah, just, you know, can't really do much else except hit the car. So, yeah, unfortunate, but, you know, that's racing. Kind of is what it is. As we see Craig Rose come into the pits to serve his drive-through on his 3rd lap. So if he had kept going, he would have copped another penalty. But Logsdale, Van der Kraan, and Whiting still here for a battle for the top step of not the winner. So that's you know, that's just one that I've just come up with there. So I like that one. Top step of not the winner.
Top step of not the winner. I'll write that one down for when I need to find the hardest way possible to say second place, mate.
That was
Logsdale,
yeah.
still in it. It does look like a lot further back, but keep in mind the field of view on these onboard cameras. You can see how much he's having to work the wheel here, though. As we get into the last few laps, these tyres, look, they're not absolutely cooked, but they're certainly not at their best. We're now, what, almost 13 laps in since Logsdale's pit stop, and a similar pit stop times for everyone around him as well. These tyres are far from fresh. They're going to be feeling a little bit slippery underfoot. Thankfully, though, as you said, the track temps are pretty nice here. at Misano at the moment, and so that is really helping with the longevity of them. But you can see to get any kind of pace, they're really having to manage the oversteer quite a bit at the moment, which is it's characteristic of these supercars anyway. You're constantly managing oversteer, just trying to balance the difference between getting the power down and lighting those rears up.
Yeah, definitely. Very common to light the rears up here, as I'm just hearing that Farrington's got a drive through, and as well as Stewart. So this looks like some more incident count drive. I'll really be interested to see the incident count by the end of this race.
Yeah.
To see,
it's going to be fairly significant, I reckon.
Yeah, but ladders all over the back here of Rushworth. He tried to go between the left and the right mirrors there of Rushworth to try and get him to move around in the braking zone. But you know, the best thing for Rushworth to do now is just pick his line, do what he needs to do, and try not to get moved around by ladder, because that's essentially something that I would be doing if I was in ladder shoes. You know, hover in all of the mirrors of the car in front, try and get him to move around. You know, focus on you, miss an apex, and you know, zoot up the inside. So.
Do we pop back and have a look at this? So am I correct in hearing that Michael Stewart's just had a drive-through shoot as well?
Yeah, so it looks like he's got one.
Is that for the incident with Barrington? Let's have a look here. Is there contact that had anything to do with it? So that's Farrington into Stewart.
I think it may have to do with just incident points.
Yeah, so it doesn't look like it's a
no.
Doesn't look like it's a race control issued item.
Just
Farrington gets a 5-second penalty. So that's not a drive through for the clash with Stewart. So it may just be incident points for both Farrington and Stewart having that drive through, which really goes to show just how many off track are being picked up by these drivers around Misano. We've said it time and time again, and I'm sorry at home if it sounds like we're repeating ourselves, but my goodness, Misano has been an absolute battle between the drivers and the track. Forget the driver-to-driver racing we've had. As good as it's been, you know, you have a look at this battle for 12 still going on as we enter the final lap. Wayne Walker now coming around to get that underway. I stand corrected.
Yeah, I think he's on the final lap. I think he's coming through the final stand.
I was going to say, this is white flag territory, or is this? He's actually this checkered flag. Wayne Walker's started to walk away with it. We've missed that white flag initially, but here we go. Wayne Walker crosses the line. Mick Whiting not far behind at all. Then Vanderkraan and Logsdale following closely by Poynton, and then much further back to Andrew Rushworth, who will be putting across the line here in 6th ahead of Ken Latta. Still the battle going on back here though for 12th. Dan Hall, Damon Fisher, Mick Clifton and Peter Sattler all challenging all the way to the line here. It does look at the moment though as though Dan Hall's going to get there in the end as they round that final turn. Second to last turn, I should say.
Second to last turn, but it looks like that Dan Hall did get the spot back because he has 13 on his windscreen, so he has got that 12th spot off Fisher on that final lap, so that's a good job there to do that. Yeah, 42-1 there from Fisher, so made a bit of a mistake, so unfortunate there. As the rest of the field is starting to come around now, Rick Weiger 13.9 seconds behind Peter Sattler, so that that's interesting to see the gaps between them, but yeah, some drive-throughs probably incorporated in that.
Yeah, absolutely. I do want to check, is that James Hardy having a bit of fun? He's pretty happy with an 11th place finish, it seems. Up one from where he started this race and leaving his mark on the Misano track. Yeah,
I'd leave that kind of mark too on that.
Honestly,
on that one
of all the tracks to leave a few tyre marks on, Misano really does have the greatest selection of coloured concrete to make it happen. Well done, James Hardy. Nice little smoke show to finish it off.
Well, surprisingly, my PC and stuff like that doesn't have all these pretty colours, so mine's pretty bare. But I can see that Misano sign, so maybe I might leave some.
Might go for a couple laps, though.
Yeah, why not?
Let's take a look at the race results. For race number 2, Wayne Walker comes home ahead of Michael Whiting. Matt Vanderkrant finishes in third. Then Logsdale, Poynton and Rushworth with Ken Latta and Stephen Varga behind. Scott Mackay and Alistair Bales round out your top 10. And we have someone who has been a bit of a special guest on the couple of occasions we've found him here this season. Matt Vanderkrant, welcome back to the booth and congrats on making the podium in race number 2.
Woohoo! Yeah, mate, that was hard work.
It doesn't look easy from the comms booth. Am I right in thinking that this has got to be one of the, and I'll preface this with, both Ryan and I have not had experience driving Misano at this point. Is our broadcast software telling us the truth? Were there that many off tracks and that many slowdowns being handed out here tonight?
There certainly were. I had a slowdown on the last lap. Thank God Dino was a bit behind me. I think, or he would have had me. Very, very easy to get a slowdown in quite a few places. Tough track. To be honest, I'd only done a lot of hot lapping, which didn't help me tonight because as soon as I got into some race pace, I didn't have any. So yeah.
Well, that'll do it for sure.
Yeah, that's usually the case, but looking here, there was a lot of off tracks. But how did the tyres hold up? As you got further into the stint with the battle pack and whatnot. As I said, obviously Jared said we don't have any experience here. I didn't have this track before I jumped in, so how'd the Gen3 go? Because they're interesting in hot track temps.
It was awesome. It's an awesome car to drive around this track. It is bloody good fun. But for me, particularly in race 1, I destroyed my tyres early on. Start of the race and out of the pits, and I lost concentration, and I was just horrible. So I tried to focus myself again for race 2 and be easy on the throttle. But for me, I found you had to be very, very careful on the tyres, or you tore up those rears in no time.
Yeah, okay, general Gen 3 things, but there were a lot of poker noses with those, double, triple, quadruple right-handers into lefts and stuff like that. So, no, it was good that you come across with a podium there. Definitely bounced back from your first race because you qualified well, but then you had that bit of a mishap and dropped down the field. So,
yeah, I actually copped the slowdown. I was looking at the slowdown when I missed that corner.
Oh, that's what happened because we're just like, where's he gone? Like he was there and he's just gone, and then he brought the beach onto the track. Yeah, so, hope you didn't leave your floaties out there.
No, I didn't. But my man Keeney is on the side of the track still.
Yeah, fair enough. And look, that's probably where it should stay as well. Matt
I was about to say the same thing.
a very entertaining drive from everyone tonight. Congrats on getting on the podium. 1 round left to go, of course, this season before we wrap it all up. Just looking back, in case we don't get a chance to chat to you next week when we do find ourselves at Okayama for the final round. Looking back on the season, what's been the highlight for you?
Oh, there's a good question. I haven't had many highlights, to be honest. I was really happy with round 1 Spa to finish P2. To finish P2 in this field is damn hard. I had a win in a sprint race a couple of weeks ago, which was nice. I've had a pretty tough season. I've been a bit battered and bruised. I've been on the wrong end of a few little knocks and bangs, which hasn't been too much fun. Yeah, no, it's been a bit of a grind this season. Still loved it, of course, but wouldn't mind a reset button and bring on season 5 or 6. What are we up to? Season 6
Season
next,
6 coming up next, yeah.
Coming up next, yeah.
And on that note, the list of tracks is looking pretty impressive. Have you had a chance to look over it and decide whether or not you are excited or terrified for season 6?
Oh, I'm excited because there's new tracks, and I love new tracks, and I love this joint. This joint is great fun to drive. And you could see there were passing opportunities here too, if you made the slightest error, and Dean was pretty kind to me a couple of times, he could have stuck his nose up further and caused possibly both of us grief or got through. So I'm excited. There's a couple of these tracks never seen before. Look forward to those. Phillip Island, Sandown, done them a million times. Bathurst, done them a million times. But yeah, they're the classic Aussie tracks, so you got to do them. I understand
Have you ever raced this thing at Watkins Glen or Belle Isle? That's the question.
Yes, both many times. Love them both.
Yeah, very nice. I do like Belle Isle myself. It's a bit sketchy up the back, but no, it's good fun. You might see some new additions coming into season 6. We'll wait and see.
Yeah, cool. Nah, good fun. Looking if I don't get to talk to you boys next week, and welcome on board, Ryan.
Good.
Jared, as always, you and Josh done and Ryan now done a great job all season. Appreciate the work you boys put in. Very professional and very cool. So well done to you.
Mate, always good fun to cover some of the best V8 racing that you'll find anywhere in the Australian iRacing world. So thanks again for being a part of it for season 5. I do hope we get to chat to you next week, but if we don't, mate, all the best for the finish of this season, and looking forward to, are we seeing you out on track for the Bathurst 1000 on 21st of September?
Yeah, 100%, mate. Me and Michael Stewart will team it up again and give it our best shot.
Cannot wait. Matty Vanderkran, lovely to have you back in the booth, mate. Congrats on P3, and a massive thank you for another phenomenal season.
Thanks, boys. Take care.
Cheers,
Matt
mate.
Vanderkran there takes P3. Let's take a look at what this means for the championship now that the racing's wrapped up here at Misano for round 9. We've got one round to go. This is where it all stands at the moment. Wayne Walker cracks the 2,000 point mark from tonight's results. 2,031 points with 300 points on offer per round.
Ooh.
It's not mathematically impossible for Scott Gamble to take it, but my goodness, is it looking like a big effort if Gamble wants to take away P1. It's not unheard of. It's not impossible. But yeah, I tell you what, it's going to be really, really tough. As a bare minimum, Gamble needs to gain 200 points, give or take, by my maths.
It's probably about
170,
160, 100. What's that? 167, something around that.
I can't even do the maths tonight. Honestly,
we'll just round it up at 170. We're at 170, but yeah, in saying that, you know what I mean. Like, anything's possible. Is it possible? Yes. Realistically, probably not.
Well, let's ask the question. Let's bring Wayne Walker in to have a chat to us. Wayne, another quality night for you here this evening. Congrats on some great race results in both races this evening here at Misano.
Yeah, thank you. Race 1. I think Scott had the pace tonight. So second was the best I could do in the first race, and then the second race there was bit of door to door, but
door to door is a very mild way of putting what we saw at the start of race 2, mate. And glad you survived it ultimately, because it would have been a real shame to see everyone get taken out in that. Scott Gamble, unfortunately, not quite so lucky in amongst all of it, and that really impacted on his second race. We're actually just taking a look at the championship standings at the moment. You're currently sitting with about, we'll round it off, both Ryan and I have decided.
We'll go on about 170.
Yeah, we've both decided our maths is not on point at this time of the evening, so we're going to say there's about 170 points of difference between yourself and Scott Gamble in P2. We really, more than anything else, we just wanted to check in and make sure you're actually planning on showing up next round, because that's about the only way, if you decide not to, it's about the only way that Scott Gamble's got a shot at P1, we reckon.
Yeah, I'll definitely be here next week. The last race being a non-dropped round, I have to be there, and even if I have a really bad round, it's, Scott could still end up winning it if I have a shocker.
Yeah, look, it's not impossible. We were just saying that it's mathematically possible, but it's going to take a massive effort from Scott Gamble, and frankly a fair bit of pressure on you to make sure that you do keep it reasonably clean, because if those two things were to come together, then we could have a very, very tight finish to the championship. But mate, it's been a massive season. One round to go. Of course, we've got Okayama up next round to finish it off. As you look back on the season that's been, we asked Matt Vanderkran the same question a moment ago. Any particular highlight for you from season 5, and then looking ahead to season 6 with the track list that's just been released? Anything about season 6 that jumps out to you? Excited about it? You terrified of it? Any thoughts?
I haven't even had a look at season 6 yet.
Too focused on taking this championship home this season.
Where are we? 20.
Let me bring it on out for you. Our schedule for season 6. We kick off on the 30th September with Phillip Island. Then Watkins Glen, Algarve, Belle Isle, Sandown, Thruxton, Le Mans, Red Bull Ring, Sachsenring, and Bathurst to finish on the 2nd of December. So a pretty stacked list.
Yeah. I think out of all them, probably the one that I'm looking most forward to is Algarve. I really like that track.
Yeah, right. There you go. Round 3.
Yeah, lots of ups and downs, and a lot of trail braking. So yeah, I really like that track.
That'll be good to see, mate. Absolutely. For season 5, obviously been a fairly dominant one for you, not without its challenges along the way, of course. But as we do look back on it, any particular round from this season that you sort of look back and go, yeah, that was my favourite. That's been the ideal round for me.
Oh, not really, but like Portland I really liked, but then there I didn't have the finish I would have liked. But yeah, other than that, Jerez as well. That was a good one with the.
It was a cracker of a track, absolutely.
Wet to dry and everything. That was good.
Yeah, nice. We'll just take some notes and pass them on back to the admin team to see what next season might bring in terms of weather and conditions, for sure. Wayne, look, I'm sure we'll get a chance to chat next week. Of course, one round to go, but for tonight at least, another set of stellar results for you. Your championship looking all but sealed up at this point. Anyone you want to say hello to before we call it a night here from Misano?
Yeah, just big thanks to all the admin, like anyone who helps sort of run the league. You guys for the broadcast. Every week the broadcast is amazing. All the other competitors as well. Without them, it's not possible either. My team, Accelerate Sim Racing, and all their help, and my teammates and all that, and our sponsors, Abbey Timber, Prime Wheels, Box and Mop and Orang, and Modern Deck. And yeah, that's it.
Always good to hear from you, Wayne. Congrats again on the results tonight, and looking forward to celebrating what seems to be a championship win ahead of you next round. No doubt we'll be chatting to you again soon.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
Wayne Walker takes the win in race number 2 and a P2 in race 1, making for a very sweet haul of points for Accelerate Sim Racing there. Ryan, as always, a pleasure to have you along, mate. Thank you so much for joining us here tonight to help us bring round 9 to life for Alliance Sim Racing.
It's been good, and I've done the calculations on the calculator, and it was 156, so I wasn't far off with those points.
Pretty good mental maths. Yeah, not bad at all.
But no, it's been good. It's good fun. Obviously, you have Josh here normally, so easy for me to jump in and do it because obviously you have some commentary experience, and you do all the hard work, mate. I just kind of sit here and there's a reason that I have a face for radio.
Look, if anyone doubts that, just check out the replay of last night's race over on the Simple Racing Broadcast channel. You'll see plenty of footage of Ryan Palmer looking pretty intense at various points throughout that race. I do love a bit of camera footage, mate. It's always good fun. But that'll wrap it up here for us tonight at round 9 of the Alliance Sim Racing Supercar Season 5. What a mouthful! But it's been a really great night of racing here at Misano. It really does just show off how tricky this circuit can be, with strategy and patience absolutely playing a massive part in a lot of drivers' positioning and final result here tonight. Of course, next up we have the final round at Okayama on the 26th of August, next Tuesday night, where we will be crowning our Season 5 champion officially. And it will no doubt provide another set of challenges for these drivers as we reach the end of this season's championship battle. From everyone here, a massive thank you to everyone at home who's been along for the ride with us. And of course, a huge thank you to our sponsors here with Alliance Sim Racing, Quantum Tint Solutions, AA West Automotive, Tim Nicol Photography, and of course 24/7 Sim Services. My name's Jared Cole. On behalf of everyone at Simple Racing Broadcast, it's been a pleasure to have you with us tonight. Until next we see you, it is goodbye for now.